in a state, the Supreme Court of the United States, and its extension arms, the circuit courts, the federal circuit courts. Federal circuit courts are extensions of the Supreme because the Supreme can't handle everything. There's only 9 judges. There was 9 judges when we had 7 million people. There's 9 judges now that we have 337 million people. They can't handle it all. So they create courts called circuit courts as an extension arm of the Supreme Court. Make sense? What happens in one district's federal district courts does not necessarily apply in another federal district's courts. This is why if you're doing cases in the 9th district, you want to admit case law if you have to. Now I'm talking about jurisdiction of admiralty usually, or it could be common law. You want to bring in case law from the 9th district. If you're in the 5th district, you want to bring in case law from the 5th district. See? Okay. All court cases are commercial warfare under international commercial law. All parties to a cause must appear by nom de jure. That's the name of war. Because an alien enemy cannot maintain an action during the war in his own flesh and blood and name. War is a gigantic commercial transaction. All war is commerce, and all commerce is war. Where did I get that? Right out under international law. And international law is absolutely, when I read that paragraph in the international law book, I said, oh my gosh, that has so much meaning. And I read it over and over and over again. And every time I read it, I understood it more and more and more. All court cases are commercial warfare under international commercial law. All parties to a cause must appear by nom de jure, name of war, because an alien enemy cannot maintain an action during the war in his own flesh and blood name. War is a gigantic commercial transaction. All war is commerce, and all commerce is war. That's why there's reparations of war. Here's a little quote out of The Law of Nations by Vattel. This is the book that is law that founds all nations. Government. Their system works entirely on both waiver or consent. Government. Their system works entirely on both waiver or consent. You've heard a million times, I know you have, government operates through the consent of the governed. They've got to get your consent. They've got to follow their rules. They need to follow their oaths. They need to follow their supreme law. They need to follow their superior law. And they need to follow their maxims of law. Everybody know what maxims is? Maxims of law. I'll define it for you. These are laws that are so adjudicated that they do not even have to be argued. Buy your maximum law books and use those in your legal cases. Don't use statutes if you can help it. Don't use opine case law if you can help it. You will win every time using maxims of law, because when you state a maxim, the judge goes, crap, I can't adjudicate it. Isn't that beautiful? It's well decided and adjudicated fact. He can't re-adjudicate it. No court in the land can re-adjudicate a maxim. It's been decided. And there's entire books on just maxims of law. Solve your case in one page. Just quote maxims. And the judge goes, oh, holy crap, dismissed. Does that make sense? These are things people don't know and attorneys don't use. That's right. That's right. See, here's their job. Here's their job is to throw bear traps out and hope you step in one. And then you're guilty. A man is what? Innocent until proven guilty. Really? What is the Bar Association's motto? No fact or truth shall be tried in court. Everything they do is hearsay. You know, a prosecutor sits there and he could spend 2 days in a trial making the defendant look terrible. You know what happened just now? He never swore in under oath. He never raised his hand on the Bible and swore in testimony. Everything he said is not sworn testimony. Who called him out on it? If they don't call him out on it, and the day adjourns because he reached the end of the day, and maybe the second day adjourned, he reached the end of the day, and the defense says, your turn tomorrow. And the judge went, the end of the day, then is truth and facts go on the record. Every lie he spouted becomes truth and fact on the record if nobody objected and the hammer got thrown down. So he could lie to himself. Maybe you look like the worst person on earth. I watched a federal prosecutor do that in a trial. And then I watched an attorney one time go, prosecutor would say something, I object. Prosecutor would say something else, I object. And he started objecting to every lie the prosecutor said immediately. Well, then who won? The attorney that objected. But what does your attorney do? He sits there quietly, he pats you on the back, and he says, we'll get our chance tomorrow. Don't say anything. That's because a damn labor union is a labor union. The judge, the prosecutor, and your defense attorney that you paid good money to, they all go golfing together, they all go out and have tacos, neither of them went to jail. They're liars and thieves. Their job when the trial's all over and you're sentenced and you're handcuffed is to pat you on and say, hold on a minute, Sheriff. Walk over and pat you on the back and say, hey, I'm sorry, we did the best job we possibly could. And they went to the back room and made a deal for the securities. I know that because I've got a lot of friends who are attorneys and prosecutors, and I've learned it over a very long period of time, being in thousands of courtrooms. You'll never know it if you don't. Well, a little fun with the banking institution. So I'm going to read this off to you. It's the National Association of Banking's website. has another AI. And it's online. And you get to ask it questions. Association of Banking. So the virtual assistant comes on and says, "Hi there, I'm NAB's secure virtual assistant. I can answer your banking questions or guide you to the right person. How may I help?" I said, "My bank account has been drained of funds and I don't understand why." I want to see what answer they're going to come up with. "We can only discuss details of the deceased accounts with the legally authorized representatives of their estates. We'll work with the named executors where there's a will, or the administrator or immediate next of kin where there isn't a will. We can't release any funds until the estate is finalized. Although you may be able to access funds to cover the deceased funeral costs, funds will be released via EFT, electronic funds transfer, per the authorized representative's instructions." You understand, anytime you deal with a virtual assistant that can't fly, that's why I love them. You can ask them all kinds of questions. If you can smart enough to come up with the right ones, they give you some absolutely fun answers. They'll even tell you that every account is a decedent's account. A decedent's. They call you dead right off the bat. Isn't that fun? God, I love this stuff. It's almost too fun. Thanks, sweetheart. All right. 31 USC. God, I love the United States Code. Make it your friend. It isn't there for them to use against you. It's for us to use against them. I'm going to get back to the third half in a minute. And that's what you're thinking. He got off the subject again. No, I did not. I'm going to come around to it. 31 U.S. Code, Section 3124, exemption from taxation. I want you to listen carefully. It is both in the 31 Code and it's also in 26 Code. 26 Code is what? The IRS Code. Make the United States Code your friend. Buy the volumes. When you have a problem, look at that one volume that deals with that problem. You don't have to read them all at once. Use them as necessary. They're not for you to be held to. They're for you to hold government accountable. Once you realize that, the United States Code becomes your friend. All right. 31, U.S. Code, Section 3124, exemption from taxation. These are the things, this is number A, stocks. Wait a minute. Are those not an investment? That's what they keep telling you. Stocks and any obligations of the United States government are exempt from taxation by any state or political subdivision of a state. The exemption applies to each form of taxation that would require the obligation, the interest on the obligation, or both, to be considered in computing a tax. Title 18. What is Title 18, guys? The criminal crimes. Title 18, Section 8. Obligation or other security of the United States defined. Okay? In Section 742, fraud has been removed or relocated without any reference to know why or where. They removed it in the most recent versions of the United States Code. That's okay, we found it. Just one more thing they're trying to hide. We found it. The term obligation or other security of the United States includes all bonds, certificates of indebtedness, national bank currency, Federal Reserve notes. There's all the dollars you have in your wallet and in your bank account. Federal Reserve bank notes, coupons, United States notes, Treasury notes, gold certificates, silver certificates, fractional notes, certificates of deposit, bills, checks, or drafts for money drawn by or upon authorized officers of the United States, stamps, and other representatives of value of whatever denomination issued under any act of Congress, including canceled United States stamps, are obligations.